Okay, we're going to get started here. Welcome to week 3 live lecture 2. It is Tuesday, and we had met yesterday for the first live lecture for week 3. This is officially your midweek, or I'm sorry, middle of the mod midterms this week. So hopefully you guys are in a good position going forward with all of your projects. You're starting your process steps, kind of revising your logo marks, hopefully going forward, here, listening to my feedback, reading my feedback, I should say, and revising your logo. So I'm excited to see kind of where you guys are taking your logo marks going forward in this next project. And it's kind of like the exciting part is seeing the progression. So I am looking forward to that for sure. Yesterday when we met, actually we went over your, just a little review, went over your discussion 3, what is to be expected, specifications, and then also went over your assignment 3. I started the demo, and with that, we didn't quite get through the whole thing. I actually, it was a little bit of a longer lecture because I couldn't get all the things that I want to show you in there. So I think what I'm going to do today is just kind of finish that up because we do have some time. I don't think I'm going to be having a lot of stuff to go over today. So we'll just finish up where we kind of stopped yesterday with the assignment 3. That way you kind of get an idea of what your book can look like, and you can see it kind of finalized. And then we're going to go over the assessment 3, what is to be expected, and I'll do a demo as well. All right. So I think what we're going to do is just go over your assessment 3 first. We'll do a demo, a little review, and then I'll kind of finish kind of where I stopped yesterday with your brand book, with the demo of the brand book. All right, so let's take a look at assessment 3 here. Okay, so this is about strengthening brand identity. You're going to basically read this background before starting. It's kind of giving you just a heads up of different logo marks that are used for different purposes. And I'm going to scroll down to the prompt here and just read this out loud. Let me know if you have any questions going forward with this, but it's pretty straight to the point. So I will also be doing a demo right after I kind of read over this for clarification. Okay, so for this assignment, you will use the strongest logo design from your week 2 feedback and refine the logo to represent a word mark, symbol, monogram, or combination mark that is appropriate to your brand. Before you start, analyze client feedback to understand the logo's final destination. Refer to your brand strategy. How and where will the logo be used most of the time? Think about design solutions that work with and without the name, and what design concepts might also work with the name to create a design that communicates the right message for your brand. Okay, so basically you're going to go back to, let's go back here. Assignment 2. Was that assignment 2? Let me hold on one second here. Yeah, you're go back to your assignment 2. Look at the PDF that was given to you again. Read through that information, just kind of go through your design process steps again. Oops. Hold on one second. There we go. The PDF wasn't sharing there, but now it's coming back. All right, so if you did the Sweet Sensations Bakery, you can read through that again just to kind of get a general sense of, what mark would be best used for this particular brand. Think about what their overall business is about and what would look good with that. Would it be a word mark? a monogram, combination mark, for example. Think about all those things. Same with Red River All Natural Dog Food. And look at other competitors too. What kind of logo marks do they use? So think about that and go forward with what you think is most appropriate for each of these. The Roasted Bee Coffee Company as well. Now, let's go back to our assignment 3 details here, or assessment 3. So the assignment instructions are: using Adobe Illustrator, refine your strongest logo design from week 2 feedback to represent the following logo style that is appropriate to your brand. So you can choose one. You might already have a word mark created for your actual concept. Say you already have a word mark. So maybe in that instance, maybe you choose a different one to play around with. Maybe you decide, okay, I'm going to try this as a monogram. Maybe you already have a combination mark designed in week 2 and you want to try a word mark. So choose one that yours is not already designed as, so that you can kind of experiment with it and see it in a different way. But choose one that is obviously appropriate for your brand. And we'll talk about that in a second here, the differences between them. Create a new document. So the size needs to be 4 inches by 4 inches with 2 artboards. You're going to create 2 ideas for that particular chosen mark that is appropriate to your brand. And you're going to place each idea on a separate artboard. Each idea contains 1 black and white and 1 color variation, kind of like what you did before. So the total of logos that you're going to see is 4. So 2 on one and 2 on the other artboard. You're going to save it as such, name it, save the multi-page PDF with all artboards included, and then submit the single PDF for grading. All right, so let's take a look, because we want to make sure you're choosing the correct one for your brand, and what you think would work. If you already have one of these types of logo marks, what would be another appropriate one that you can play around with? All right, so let's take a look at the differences between them. Let's take a look at some examples too. Give me 1 second here, guys. Whew, it's been a long day. All right, so basically, and we're talking about letter marks, word marks, in terms of a logo. So let's see here. Hold on 1 second. With that being said, let's take a look at some examples here. And you can basically see that they're broken up into 5 basic categories. So you have word marks, letter marks, brand marks, combination marks, and monograms, which could be called emblems as well. So let's take a look at these different types, talk about them a little bit so you can understand, maybe what they're all about so that you can choose appropriately. Okay, so a word mark, also known as a word mark or logo type, in many ways, is one of the simplest types of logos really out there. So it's basically showing the company's name in text alone. These particular word marks can be based on handwriting, signatures, custom fonts, or less common existing fonts. And famous types of these types of word marks are what you see here: mobile, Coca-Cola, Disney, Canon, Sony, Visa, Google, Facebook. Think about all that. Yahoo, Pinterest. So for big brands, the simplicity of type-only logo can convey a sense of confidence, history, and stability. However, the word mark can also be a good choice for a startup, as it contains the company's full name and helps make it known. So, would this be something that would be appropriate for you to play around with for your assessment 3 and your brand? Think about what the pros are and what they're commonly used for. Okay, you have lettermark. This is an example of a lettermark, also known as, actually, this is also known as a monogram logo. So it could be kind of both, because it's like an abbreviation. A lettermark is, again, made up of text, but based on the initials of the company or brand, rather than its full name. Famous examples include logos for cable news networks, so CNN, HBO, NASA, P&G, Electronic Arts would be EA. So as these examples suggest, a lettermark is a good choice for a company whose name is difficult to pronounce, or too long to really work as a logo in most media. This is an especially important consideration when it will need to shrink down to tiny sizes on mobile devices, for example. So shortening a long company name to initials will also make it easier for your audience to remember your logo and name, especially in global markets. The challenge with both lettermarks and word marks, however, is to make them distinctive enough visually that they become instantly recognizable. So that's kind of like the pros and cons of that. Okay, the combination mark, as the name suggests, a combination mark involves a combination of word mark and symbol. So famous examples include logos for Adidas, Doritos, Lacoste, Pizza Hut, Xbox, McDonald's, Walmart, Microsoft, Domino's Pizza could be an example there. Also known as iconic logotypes, combination marks mean you can convey a visual idea of what a brand represents, as well as making it clear that it's what it's called. So it's particularly useful for new or less well-known brands. So this is an interesting part of that. So its complexity also means it's easier to trademark. It means your logo is more distinctive and less likely to be confused with other brands' logos. The same complexity, however, means it's more difficult to reduce the design down to smaller sizes. However, it's ideal, really, if the different elements can be used separately. So if you think about that, you can obviously pull those apart, hopefully, when your brand is recognizable at the point where people know, okay, yeah, I know what that symbol means. That's when you know it's working. The emblem, and this could be considered a monogram mark as well, is a combination, like a combination mark. An emblem also involves both text and symbol, but in this case, the text appears inside the symbol. Famous examples of emblems include the logos for Ford, Starbucks, Harley-Davidson, UPS, MasterCard, Burger King, and NFL. Emblems are less flexible than combination marks, as their elements are typically difficult to separate out. Historically used by organizations such as schools, charities, sport teams, government agencies, and resembling a badge or seal. This style of logo can lend an air of authority and authenticity to a modern-day brand. It's the seal of approval. So those are just the differences between the actual, all those different types of logo types. I also have an article. I'm going to share this in announcements here. I'll post this today. That kind of explains it a little bit more in detail and shows more examples. So thinking about that, which one do you believe works for your project? And like, for instance, I have kind of like mine's kind of like an emblem monogram logo, but I have the actual name spelled out. the one that I did for the demo. So maybe in that case, I decide to try to do a combination mark, which I kind of already played around with in week 2 anyway. I could also try a word mark. Symbol, I could probably play around with that as well, but I think that when you play around with symbols for a brand that is new, it's actually going to be harder to know what that brand is, because it actually doesn't have the name with it. So it's more of like a symbol. And I'm going to show you an example here. I actually pulled this up. So we know what these symbols represent, because these have been very established in our culture. They're very recognizable brands. They're universal. They didn't always start out this way in terms of the logo itself. They actually started out with combination marks with the name and this symbol, and now they're so recognizable that they don't even need to have the name next to it. So you don't really want to do a symbol. You can play around with it for your project, but for the most part, if it's a startup or maybe a lesser known brand, you don't typically just use a pictorial symbol for the actual logo without the name with it. Okay, so now that that is all good, all said and done, go back to my slides here. Let's do a demo of assessment 3. I'm going to shift some things around here. Hold on one second. All right, so basically we're going to open up Illustrator. Give me 1 second. I'm going to share my screen in a minute here. All right, we're going to go File, New. And we just went 2 pages, 4 inches by 4 inches. This is where you would actually change the size. And I want 2 artboards, so we can do 2. All right, so what you're going to do is you're going to go back and revise your logo. You're going to get my feedback that I gave to you and push it forward. You're going to choose one of the 4 options. So like I said, if you already have your logo is already a combination mark, you're going to want to try it and do another type of logo mark for this assessment 3. Okay, let me open up my logo here. I'm going back to actually assignment 2, and I'm doing that because I do already have a combination mark set in place here. Now it doesn't quite look the same as my other final logo, so I'm going to have to change it a little bit. So let me open up my final logo and show you what that looks like. There we go. So what I want to do is I want to take this emblem seal logo, and I want to choose a logo type in assessment 3 that's a little different. I'm going to actually copy this, and I'm going to place this on my artboard, or actually right off of my artboard so I can look at it. And I'm going to do the same with this one, because this one's so close to what I did. It's just a word mark. So you want to make sure it looks cohesive. You want to use the same idea of this, just make it look cohesive. So let me show you what I'm talking about. So it's grouped here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make this colors here. And I'm going to take this circle, and I'm going to use this circle for my actual circle behind here. And then, you know, I can play around with the idea of this S being inside here. It's a little different than what you see on the left there, but, you know, obviously it's a combination mark. So, you know, we need something in there. So how can we do this so, you know, it works? Oops. Maybe in this instance, it's just making the S smaller and centering it in here. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to copy and paste this little guy here, grab the color. Oops. So it's 1.13, 2. That's why I couldn't see it. Okay. And then obviously I have to make this look like that. So what I'm going to do, actually what I'm going to do, let me get rid of that. I'm going to take this and just pull it over here. If it doesn't work, I can kind of play around with it and see what works. Oops. All right, so in this instance, this would be a lot. If I were to have this like below this mark, this is just a very tall logo. So the combination mark has to look a little, I guess, a little bit more balanced. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to play around with this for a little bit. You know, how can I make this a combination mark so that it works? One second here. All right. So I think for this particular case, I probably will try something like this. All right, I can group this. There we go. All right, so, oops, what am I doing here? So I'm making this just kind of more balanced out here. And aligning everything. Oops. So that would be one idea where it would be a word mark. Now, I'm going to show you really quickly how to change this to a grayscale or black and white. You can go up to Edit. Oh, I'm sorry. Where is it? Edit colors. So you can edit this to different color jobs. You could convert it to grayscale, overprint black. Let's do one color job, and we'll do black. Okay, so I'm basically showing it. This isn't full black, but it's taking it what it would look like because this isn't completely black. If you wanted to, you could definitely change this to all black instead of having it in the tone range here. I would keep it something like that. Keep enough space in between. Make sure everything looks good on the actual layout. And there you go. So that would be a combination example. All right, so it says create 2 ideas. So I'm going to take the same idea. I'm just going to do an alt drag, just the color variation here. And I'm going to try a different option. What you might want to do if it's more vertical, you might try a horizontal. If it's more horizontal, you might try more of a vertical. All right, so I'm going to save this first before I'm going to take a quick break here before going forward with this. So let me save this before I don't want to lose it. There we go. All right, so I'm going to take a quick 5-minute break and we'll kind of continue on with this. So yeah, right back. All right, so let's get started with changing this actual combination mark to a different type of combination mark. For instance, because this is more of a symmetrical vertical logo combination mark, we're going to try more of a horizontal for this second option here. So what you can do is play around with the overall orientation. You know, if you have the combination mark, you might want to try something like this where it's more horizontal. Play around with the positioning of everything so that it works for this shape. You do something like that, or just different options. Play around with it. You could do something like this, where this becomes kind of like in the middle here. I'll have to balance some stuff out. It's not quite centered, so that's the only issue with this. But we could kind of play around with this and make this work here. It's just a matter of playing around with the shape. So, you know, just kind of experiment, have fun with it. Make sure it's appropriate for your brand. I'm just kind of trying to figure out where I could put this so that it works. It's kind of like, I'm not quite sure if I like the look of this because it's not quite balanced, but you know, I'll play around with that a little bit more. Let's make this larger like we had it before. So maybe, just trying different things here to, oh, try to make this work. So it's just kind of all about experimenting. This isn't quite balanced either, but I'm just kind of trying to figure out a good way to do this. A little challenging. I think this probably works the best. You know, there's definitely some other options that I could do, but just for showing you guys, you know, some ideas, I think that this is probably the better way to go for my route, my option here. All right, so then I'm just going to make this black and white. Oh. Okay. All right, so we have our two different word mark variations based off of my original here. Two different options. And when you're ready, just save this and save it as your AI file, and then also save it as a PDF. all artboards. All right, and then when you're done with that, just make sure you open up your PDF. Let me stop sharing here so I can open that up. I can't find it on my desktop because everything's in the way. All right, so this is my PDF that I just made here. So just make sure you have the 2 pages and it looks good. So this is what you'll be submitting. Now, again, if you already have a combination mark, you're going to want to go and try something different for this assessment group. You're going to maybe try a monogram or a word mark, you know, just kind of play around with it and see what you can come up with. This is just a way for you guys to experiment with different marks so that you can, you know, see what can be appropriate, maybe a better option too for your actual design. All right. Let me know if you have any questions. I hope I clarified a lot for you guys to get started and get going on this. Just make sure that, you know, obviously you are creating a logo that is simple, that is easy to read, and that it's, you know, it's working together, it's unifying. I see a lot of logos that, you know, say it's a combination mark and the mark doesn't quite fit the style of the typeface. You know, it's not unifying. Something sticks out in a bad way. In a logo, you want everything to be read together very quickly and unified so that, you know, it's not like something sticks out in a bad way that's getting more attention than the actual name. All right, with that being said, we just went over your assessment 3, went over your discussion. Assignment 3 is not quite finished. So I wanted to go back to where we started, or stopped, I should say, with your assignment 3. So let me go ahead and open that up. I know we didn't quite follow, like, do all the pages. So I wanted to, since we have time, try to do that. All right, so let me share my screen here. Coming back, this is assignment 3, by the way. If you remember me kind of doing this yesterday, started the cover, table of contents. I showed you how to create page numbers using master pages, brand introduction, target audience, personality. Now I'm just plugging in Greek type for that. Color palette, I showed you how to go about that. Logo guidelines. So here I would probably, let me draw up my guides here for my type and my imagery. All right, so for this one, I would probably have 2 pages. And what I mean by that is I'm gonna put, what page is 13? Guidelines, that's 7. Okay, so I'm gonna move 13 up to 7. I'm kind of creating 2 pages. I already copied it, but I just need to put it in here. So I have page 7 and page 8 are my logo guidelines. So the first page of logo guidelines, maybe I'll have how to show the logo in color and black and white, the actual logo, what it should look like. So maybe for this, I'll create a subhead. Logo, proper logo usage. You go back to my styles here. Oh, do another paragraph style here. I'm going to name this subhead. And then I'm going to choose my colors here. Proper logo usage. All right. So in here, I would show examples of how to show the logo in color and in black and white. So I'm going to go back and get the logo. And I'm actually going to make it a little smaller here. Oops. I don't know if I actually did a black and white for this one. So let me go back and see here. Yeah, I did. So I'm just going to export this as a little bit bigger. Black and white. And then I just went page 3. Oh, you know what? I don't want to do that. I want to do save as, export. Export as. I want a ping file. I want page 3. Because we don't want that. We don't want the background to come in the white box. All right, so I'm going to copy and paste that so I know it's the same size, and just going to replace this out with my black and white ping logo. And this is at this percentage, so I'm going to make sure this is at the same percentage. This. There we go. And then center. All right, so this is what this would look like in the presentation here. Color, black and white. Now I'm going to copy this, and I'm just going to pull this down to here because this is my second logo usage page. And I just want to show improper usage. So, yeah, proper and improper. 5455. All right, so for the improper, you could have more than one example, or more than two, really, if you wanted. So let's say, I'm actually centered. Let's say you wanted to split this up. So you have 2 and 2. And let's say, oops. Let's say this one shows distortion. So we want to distort it. And let's say this one, and you might have to go back to your logo again. See your logo. Copy. You probably already have this too. We're doing improper logo usage, or maybe Let's do maybe a different typeface here. That one. This one would be maybe out that. And then let's do one more. Different color. All right, so I'm going to save these out as improper logo usage. This AI file first, and then I'm going to export each one out as a ping file. All boards. 300 pixels per inch, transparent. Go back to your InDesign layouts and then start importing these in here. For some reason this is not as big. So I'm just placing in the improper usage examples here. And then you can fully visually say that these are not a no-no by taking maybe like a line, like a red line that would show like a no sign. Don't do this. So that it's super clear that you're not supposed to do this. And then to even clarify it even more, you can add supportive copy underneath or wherever to kind of explain what you're seeing here. So do not stretch, distort logo mark, for example. And I'm just going to set this a little smaller in size. I don't think it has to be super big, but it has to look like it belongs with that example here. Do not use other typefaces. Alternate. Copy, paste, copy, paste. Do not take out circle border elements. And just make sure that these are all consistent, you know, the same typeface, same point size. Makes it very, very cohesive when you do that. Do not use other colors, not specified. There you go. Or approved. Okay, so that would be an example of an improper logo uses, and then this is the proper. You can put color and then black and white underneath there too, wordage wise, but I'm just going to keep it simple. Typography, this is where you break it down. So what you could do for this, my guides here, is take your logo, I'm just going to copy this here. Show it right there. Make it a little bit bigger. Oops, not that big. It's in there. There we go. And then you can point out certain parts of the logo. So you could take like a line that goes to each one, or you don't even have to do that. You could just set your type down here and just write out Sweet Sensations. And that typeface is, go back because I can't remember, Nella Sue Demo. And you can actually set it in that typeface, Nella Sue Demo. And then maybe have this in the actual typeface that you had this all set in. So Minion. Oh, I was forgetting that. Where's my Minion? There we go. Yeah. It's a little smaller. Okay, and then what you want to do is the word bakery. That's, mine's different, and that is, it's the Minion variable concept. Okay, I'm going to set it in that. A little bit more space in between. And then, you know, I could always center this too. That's kind of what we're going with, like consistency of the other things going on the page. And then I'm just going to place this down here so it balances out a little bit better. Oops. So there you go. There's the typography page. Imagery, like I said, you can go, you know, on pixabay.com is a great site, so you can get free high-res imagery there to set the mood. You know, maybe like the look of, you know, this particular picture here, and you like want that to be part of the website or other marketing pieces. This would set the mood for that. You can use that for your other pieces, just to kind of, oops, set the mood of what you want and how you want your stuff to show. This is making me hungry, you guys. Kind of cute. Bakery. This looks like done something by accident. All right, so let me try and get some of these pictures in here. kind of know what I'm talking about. Like the whole like white look too. We got some kids' pictures in here. That's kind of cool. Oops, I did click on the wrong one. I don't know how many I have. I'll do a couple more here. Okay, let's see what we have now. I've got a couple of these downloaded. All right, so we're going to stop sharing. I'm going to share my picture or my layout here, and then I'm going to place in my pictures. And then I can kind of move them around just on this shape. You don't have to do a round shape. I'm just doing this because it aligns really well with what I'm doing. Actually, I'm going to put a drop shadow on this. On all of these. So let's go select all, got the object effects drop shadow. Slight drop shadow here. Just so you can see that, you know, it's three-dimensional, especially for this one, doesn't quite. You can see the edges. I'll leave that one. Cookies and milk. There we go. All right. Advertising and marketing treatments. This is what I don't have. Oh, I could probably delete the 13. And, you know, maybe this is something that you want to expand upon down here. Oops. Let's just do this. So get rid of that one. We're going to duplicate that one. And that'll be page 12. Good. So PSD mockups are, let me see how I can explain this. Hopefully you guys have experience with this, but free PSD mockups. Excuse me. Woo. I usually mute my mic when I sneeze, and that came so quick, I had no choice. Okay, so there's a site called, there are all kinds of different sites for free PSD mockups. This one in particular is called Mockup World. So I can go in and look for a keyword that I'm looking for in regards to a mockup. Okay, so maybe here we'll just do a box or something like that. Because, you know, bakeries come in boxes, or bakery goods come in boxes. There's also keywords that you can look up too, food and beverage, and then it filters through, you know, that in particular. Food and beverage mock-ups. Let's say that you wanted to do this coffee cup. This is a free one. Just click on that, and I'll show you real quick. This would be good for that coffee brand, by the way. Just click on download free. Let me open up my Photoshop while I'm doing this because we're going to need it. Okay. Click on down.